On my 23rd birthday, Henry Jordan brought his childhood sweetheart to celebrate with me. I thanked them sincerely, yet for some utterly baffling reason, I was dumped on the spot. My brother was afraid I'd fall into depression over love, so he sent me to Europe for 3 years. 3 years later, I came back. Henry was already married. My friends came to the airport to pick me up. Henry actually came too. The man who had broken up with me in public 3 years ago suddenly had wet eyes. "Heather Dunn, in these 3 years have you never once thought about me?" After 3 years, I finally returned to the city. I picked up my luggage and, the moment I stepped out of the gate, I saw a whole crowd. At the front was my best friend, Allison. She came straight up and gave me a solid hug. "Welcome back, our Saint designer, Heather." Laughter rose one after another from my friends. I greeted them one by one, but my gaze couldn't help drifting to the back of the crowd, to Henry Jordan. He was still the same, tall, straight, still fond of wearing a black overcoat like he used to. Refined, yet distant. The crowd was lively, but he stood there quietly, his eyes slightly dark as he looked at me. Allison leaned close to my ear and lowered her voice. "God knows why he came. We didn't even call him in the group." I pulled my gaze back. In my mind flashed that scene from my birthday 3 years ago, when he inexplicably broke up with me. Just because, when his childhood friend Rachel Clark gave me a birthday gift, I smiled and declined it. In Henry's eyes, that meant I looked down on ordinary, plain Rachel Clark. I hadn't even shaken off that sharp old memory, when Henry had already come through the crowd and stopped right in front of me. His eyes were pink, his voice hoarse, and he was holding a cashmere scarf in his hand. "Long time no see. It's gotten cold here, and I know you never check the weather in advance, so I specifically brought you a scarf. Put it on before we go out." It was a classic checkered style, the kind I used to like the most. I instinctively took a step back and opened up the distance between us. "No need. I'm not cold." Henry's hand, still holding the scarf, froze in midair. His expression was awkward and wounded. "You're still angry, aren't you? These 3 years, you never contacted me. Heather, did you really never once think of me? Not even once?" It sounded almost ridiculous. He was the one who broke up with me 3 years ago, not me. Before I could speak, one of my friends already couldn't stand it. "President Jordan, listen to yourself," a friend said with a smile that wasn't a smile. "You're a married man now, and you've taken over the Jordan family business. If the media catches this and it gets out, it's not going to look good for you, right?" I followed up smoothly, looking straight at him. "I heard you and Rachel got married a year ago. Does she know you're standing here now?" Henry's face turned pale at once. He stepped forward, lowered his voice, almost pressing it to my ear as he explained, "I'm sorry, I didn't want to marry her back then." I turned my head and, in a voice only the two of us could hear, replied to him, "You didn't want to marry her, yet 3 years ago you broke up with me for her? Henry, you really are fearless when it comes to love." I didn't make it too ugly. Put nicely, it was fearless. Put bluntly, it was wanting the bowl in front of him while still eyeing the pot on the stove. Henry quickly avoided my eyes, and hurriedly lifted the scarf again, trying to show his sincerity instead. "Heather, look, it's the brand and style you like the most. I still remember. I bought it a long time ago. I've just been waiting for you to come back." It was indeed a brand I had liked many years ago, but the me now no longer liked it. Everyone crowded around me and we walked toward the exit. No one paid attention to Henry's embarrassment anymore. Just as we reached the airport door, a sweet, delicate voice rang out. "Heather, I heard you came back, so I came especially to pick you up." Rachel came toward us, wearing the newest Chanel set, makeup exquisite, her smile full of smug spring brightness. She saw Henry right away, and the checkered scarf in his hand. "Looks like I came at a bad time." Allison exploded on the spot. She stepped right in front of me and fired at Rachel. "Of course you came at a bad time. When have you ever come at a good time? That fake smile on your face is disgusting. 3 years ago you stole Heather's boyfriend, and later God knows what shady trick you used to marry into the Jordan family. A pheasant turning into a phoenix overnight." Allison's words were fast and vicious. Rachel's face instantly turned the color of pork liver. Our mutual friend Tom hurried out to pull Allison back. "Allison, tone it down, watch the optics." He reminded her in a rush, "No matter what, she's Henry's wife now. If Henry gets mad and yanks your family's contract, what then?" Tom paused, then glanced at me, who had been silent the whole time. "If he vents on Heather again, wouldn't your good intentions backfire?" The moment Tom said that, the stiffness and humiliation on Rachel's face miraculously faded. Instead of getting angry, she smiled, as if she'd just heard the funniest thing. "Allison, listen to yourself. Why would I ever use shady tricks?" She unhurriedly straightened the lapel of her Chanel jacket. Her gaze swept across everyone present and finally landed on me. "It was Henry who chased me in the first place. When he proposed, drones were flying all over the Jiangtan riverside spelling out his love. Unlike some people, who date for years and still can't get a proper title. The area fell silent at once. Rachel was very satisfied with the effect. She seemed to only then notice the scarf in Henry's hand, and let out a little "oh. Darling, isn't that the one I bought you the other day?" She walked over sweetly, voice innocent and completely self-assured. "You said you were coming to the airport to pick up the foreign partner. Did you find him? I told you to give it to him, since it's gotten colder here, and it could count as a little token from the Jordan family. Why are you still holding it?" Foreign partner. So, he wasn't here for me. And the scarf wasn't prepared for me. I looked up at Henry. He dodged my eyes in some embarrassment, took a cigarette case from his pocket, and lit one with a shaking hand. The pale blue smoke curled around his face, making that already pale face look even more desolate. "Rachel," he took a drag, his voice hoarse and warning, "don't go too far." That warning was light, airy, completely powerless. Rachel immediately trotted over, grabbed his arm, pressed herself right up against him, her voice sweet to the point of cloying. "Darling, I knew you loved me the most. You'd never really get mad at me." She shook Henry's arm, then turned her head, smiling at me, eyes sparkling. "Miss Dunn, so sorry you had to see that." When I got home, my brother, Andy Dunn, had already brewed hot tea and was waiting for me. "Tom told me about that farce at the airport. You did the right thing. You should treat the two of them like air and ignore them completely." His brows were knotted. "That idiot Henry, and that Rachel, neither of them are good people." I sipped the ginger tea in small mouthfuls. Warmth slid down my throat into my stomach, dispelling the chill I'd picked up at the airport. Seeing I was relatively calm, Andy finally spoke. "Henry really did propose to Rachel a year ago." He snorted, full of disdain. Before the proposal, Rachel's family was practically at the Jordan house every day, saying Rachel was pregnant with a Jordan heir. A family like the Jordans, who care so much about face, had no choice but to accept it. Then came the drones and the front page of the whole city, so showy, like they were afraid no one would know. At this point he paused, leaning closer to me. "But here's the interesting part, all year, Rachel's belly hasn't shown the slightest movement." I put down my cup. Whatever ripples I still had in my heart finally quieted completely. So that was it. Rachel had faked a pregnancy. "So, do you need your brother to step in?" Andy raised his brows, flexing his wrists. "Make them get a divorce or make his business hit a snag? Say the word and I'll get it done cleanly." His eagerness made me laugh. "No need, Andy. A good horse doesn't graze on old pasture, let alone on a horse like Henry, whose head isn't even clear." I met his eyes squarely. "Besides, I met someone I like in Europe." Andy froze for a second, then all his worry vanished, replaced by open delight. He slapped his thigh. "I knew it. Mom and Dad didn't want you going to Europe alone, said it wasn't safe for a girl. But I insisted and sent you off anyway. Look, my judgment was spot on." My brother hadn't even had 2 full days to bask in his brilliant foresight when the Jordan family came calling on their own. It was Henry's mother, Aunt Jordan. She brought a lot of expensive jewelry and sat on our couch, posture lowered, speaking earnestly as she apologized for what Henry had done 3 years ago. "Heather, dear, I know our Henry wronged you." She held my hand, eyes even turning red. "He was tricked by that Rachel. She said she was pregnant and forced the marriage. We were all kept in the dark. Henry's had a terrible year, he can't eat, can't sleep, he's all worn down." I pulled my hand back. "Is that so? Funny, when I saw him at the airport 2 days ago, he looked sturdier than 3 years ago." Mrs. Jordan's sorrow froze on her face, and she looked awkward for a moment. "He works out every day, that's muscle, all muscle." I smiled. "Auntie, I understand why you came, and I appreciate the bother. It's just that, I already have someone I love." I watched the surprise spread over her face and went on, "He's coming back soon too, and we'll be getting engaged very soon." After Aunt Jordan left, my brother clicked his tongue and shook his head. "This Jordan family really is shameless. Do they think a bit of gold can coax you back?" I was tidying the tea set, feeling quite calm. "I guess Henry sent her. He wanted to sound me out." "And that bit about getting engaged," Andy narrowed his eyes. "Don't tell me you said that just to annoy them?" I only smiled and didn't answer. Early the next morning, Allison called in a rush. "Heather, go look at the local trending." Half awake, I opened my phone. Hashtag Dunn family heiress dumped 3 years ago, wants to get back with Henry after returning hashtag, was sitting at number 8 on the local financial trending list. I tapped it open. It was all local hype accounts claiming I had taken the initiative yesterday to contact the Jordan family and ask to reconcile. There were even a few blurry photos, taken when Aunt Jordan came to my house yesterday. The captions were written like it was all confirmed. An insider reveals that after returning, Heather Dunn deeply regretted the breakup, reached out to the Jordan family to make peace, and hopes to start again. The Jordan family paid a personal visit. The two sides had a very pleasant talk. I let out a disbelieving laugh. On the phone, Allison was cursing. That's definitely the Jordans. It's disgusting. They were the ones who came to your place, and when it didn't work, they flipped it and said you want Henry back. Now the whole comment section is trashing you, saying you couldn't make it abroad and came back to be a homewrecker. I scrolled through the comments. A lot of them were filthy. But there were also plenty of rational people saying it was obviously fake. Don't worry yet, I said as I got dressed. We know plenty of people. We can fix this. When I got downstairs, I saw Henry leaning against his car, waiting. He was still in that black overcoat, but he looked even more worn out than a few days ago. Stubble had already grown in. When he saw me, he came over at once. Heather, I've already had people deal with those rumors online. That wasn't from my family. It was Rachel. His voice was hoarse, like he hadn't slept all night. Don't be mad. Rachel might have been used by someone. She wasn't targeting you on purpose. I stopped and looked him over. Do I look that easy to fool? He froze. Yesterday, besides the Jordan family and my family, who else knew your mother came to my house? I let out a cold laugh. If Rachel didn't have inside information, how did she know so clearly? And even if, big even, she really was used, you're her husband. If you can't even control your own wife, what right do you have to talk to me? His face went pale. Heather, move. I have things to do. Henry hurried after me, almost pleading. Please believe me, I really will handle it. Rachel's not stable right now. We can't provoke her too much. I stopped and turned to look at him. My emotions aren't stable either. Funny how you still came to provoke me. Heather, listen to me. It's not what you think. What happened at your birthday 3 years ago was my fault. But can you just once listen to my explanation? I folded my arms and stared at him coldly. At that time, Rachel had just graduated. The Clark family business was in serious trouble and basically on the verge of bankruptcy. Then her mother was suddenly diagnosed with late-stage stomach cancer and needed money urgently. She wanted to meet some contacts at your birthday party, to see if she could get someone to invest and help her family through it. But you refused her gift on the spot. Henry looked at me, thoughtful. I know you didn't mean it. But to other people, it looked like you were looking down on her, embarrassing her in public. She was already close to breaking down. I didn't want her to be hurt again, so I acted on impulse and broke up with you. His throat moved and his voice grew rougher. I just wanted her to feel better, Heather. I didn't expect you to be even more decisive than I thought. The next day, when I wanted to find you to explain and apologize, your brother had already sent you to Europe. You blocked all my contacts. I could only email you. Heather, I sent you hundreds of emails. You didn't reply to a single one. I listened quietly. I did see those emails. Every one of them was sincere, full of remorse. But so what? For another woman's embarrassment, he had made me the biggest joke in front of everyone. And now he wanted to erase it with a few sentences? I didn't need a man who stabbed me for someone else and then came back crying, saying he loved me. Not only did I not need him, I even resented him. Are you done? Henry, your explanation is touching. But Rachel is your childhood sweetheart. Her family went downhill, her mother was sick, and instead of helping her yourself, you sent her to my birthday to poach contacts. Then when she couldn't, you stepped in yourself, stood on her side in front of all my friends, and dumped me. Henry, I stepped closer and stared straight at him. If you're that eager to play the saint, why make it so complicated? Henry's face turned chalk white. His lips moved, and after a while he squeezed out, Rachel, she didn't want to take my help. Oh, I said, as if I'd suddenly understood. So principled. If Miss Clark is that principled, how did she later scheme so hard to marry you with a fake pregnancy? Henry jerked back, panic flashing in his eyes. That was the Clark family, that was her family who did that, Rachel, The Clark family again. I cut off his ridiculous excuse. What, are you going to say this time, the bot troll smearing me, was also her family forcing her? Or that she knew nothing about it? Henry was completely speechless. On that fine, handsome face, there was only helplessness. Boring. Far too boring. I looked away, turned toward the villa, and called, Sister Sarah. Get a few people to throw him out for me. The heating was on high in Allison's apartment. She, however, was pacing in front of me like a headless fly. Heather, what are we going to do about all this? I walked to the floor-to-ceiling window and dialed an overseas number. When the call connected, I switched languages and spoke evenly. Alex? When will you arrive in China? The day after tomorrow? Great. I'll be waiting. But before you get here, there's something I need you to do for me from abroad. I hung up and turned around, and ran right into Allison's shocked gaze. Heather, since when is your English that good? She looked incredulous. I remember when you took your college English tests, you were stumbling like you were going to die. I lowered my eyes to the screen, to Alex's gentle smile. I'd set that as his avatar. In Europe, I met someone very warm. His name is Alex. He's British. When I was with him, he would always, over and over, listen to my horrible Chinglish and correct me, patiently. With a teacher like that, you just pick it up. Besides, I had just broken up with Henry then. If I hadn't met the patient Alex in that bar, I probably wouldn't have gotten over it so quickly. Allison paused, then stomped her foot. Okay, but look at the timing. You still have the mood to talk romance with me. She came over, exasperated. You're not anxious at all? Rachel is clearly trying to ruin you this time. I lifted my head and smiled to reassure her. That's exactly what I'm dealing with. Alex is one of the top white hat hackers in Europe. As long as he sends Rachel a link with a Trojan in it, he can get every piece of hard evidence that she spread the rumors and bought water armies. Allison's expression shifted from shock to hesitation. But Rachel did graduate from college. She's not stupid. Hacking her phone with one text and a strange link, that's almost impossible, right? True. Rachel would never fall for something that simple. But what if the text is from me? What if the content is today's entire recording of my conversation with Henry at the Villa Gate? Do you think she'll click it then? 2 days later, a small but sharp storm swept across the local social media circle. President Jordan of the Jordan family group was still deeply attached to his ex-girlfriend, Heather, whom he had dumped 3 years ago. The story was detailed, even came with a blurry photo of Henry stopping me at the airport and handing me a scarf. Every line suggested Henry still had feelings for me and was even willing to divorce for me. All of that was posted by me. Since Henry wanted to act like the devoted lover, I would help him. I would make his devotion known to everyone. And I would strike back at Rachel. I wanted everyone to know it wasn't me clinging to Henry. It was Henry who couldn't let me go. The effect was immediate. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Rachel. Time Cafe, 3rd floor private room. Let's talk. So she couldn't hold back after all. She'd clicked on the gift I sent her. In the private room of the cafe, Rachel sat across from me and slammed her phone down. Heather, I knew you didn't come back with good intentions. If you chose to leave 3 years ago, why did you come back now? I lifted the lemon water in front of me and swirled it slowly. Probably to see how certain people have been living while I wasn't around. She bristled at once. What do you mean? I mean, if I hadn't come back, I might never have known your marriage was a scam from the very beginning. Rachel's face went white. If you hadn't come back, Henry wouldn't be asking for a divorce. Oh? So he is asking for a divorce now? That's why you're scared? I looked at her and smiled. Rachel, what Henry hates most is the scheming and greed of your Clark family. But toward you, he still has some old feelings. After all, you two grew up together. Rachel's eyes flickered. Clearly, I'd hit the mark. I leaned forward a little, lowered my voice, like I was truly advising her. If you really want to save this marriage, I can give you a way out. First, cut off your leech of a family completely. Second, my eyes dropped to her flat stomach, get pregnant. Solidly. When that happens, even if Henry wants out, let's see if his parents agree. The room fell silent. Rachel kept her head down. Her coffee remained untouched. Her face was full of thought. By the time I left the cafe, the sky was already dark. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was all messages from Allison, asking how it went. I only replied with 2 words, all done. I thought the Jordan family would now use all their PR to clarify, to flip the story, to turn Henry into a victim being pestered by his ex. That would have been the coldest and smartest way. But I still underestimated Henry's obsession with me. The next morning, he used his own verified account to post a public apology. He didn't tag anyone, but every word pointed to me. 3 years ago, it was my impulsiveness that hurt her. In these 3 years, I have never forgotten her. It caused an uproar. That tender, affectionate apology confirmed every rumor I'd put out. President Jordan, still in love with his ex, madly devoted. How touching. So touching that I instantly became the other woman, the marriage wrecker, the target of everyone's scolding. The call was from my father. Heather. Come home. In the Dunn Villa, the air was as cold as ice. My father slammed his financial newspaper onto the coffee table. On the front page was Henry's face, full of deep feeling. Outrageous. His chest rose and fell. If he had posted a clarification, I'd still respect him as a man. But what is this? With one move, he pushed 2 women to the top of the storm. Is that love? He's ruining your name. My father paced back and forth in the living room. I've seen him be ruthless and decisive in business. How does he turn into a brainless boy the moment it's about feeling stupid beyond help? He stopped abruptly and looked at me. Heather, I won't let you suffer this for nothing. He called the head of the PR department on the spot. Issue a statement. Use the strongest wording. Say this: Dunn Corp has no connection whatsoever with the Jordan family. Not now, and never in the future. We were officially tearing the mask off. My father's statement was like a depth charge in the local business circle. And right then, the gift Alex sent appeared at the perfect moment. Rachel's chats with the online promoters, her payments to water armies, all her attempts to smear me as a mistress trying to get back in, every chat log, every transfer, was made public in full. The evidence was irrefutable. Public opinion flipped at once. Rachel was cornered and could only post a written apology late at night. She apologized to me sincerely, but poured all the dirty water onto her parents. I only heard from my parents that Heather had come back, and in a moment of confusion I made this huge mistake. She really did learn the first thing I taught her, very fast. After the scandal died down, Henry started showing up at my gate again and again. His posture couldn't have been lower. The gifts he sent piled up in the guardroom: jewelry, accessories, limited edition bags, everything you could think of. But no one in my family relented. The butler blocked him every time outside the door, and my parents didn't even bother to show their faces. A few days later, his patience finally ran out. That day, I had just come back from outside when his car was parked right across the villa gate. Henry got out of the car. The humble, ingratiating look from the past few days was gone from his face, replaced by a hint of angry humiliation. Heather, must you make this so ruthless? I looked at him coolly. You were the one who made it ruthless first. He gave a short, mocking laugh and came closer, his eyes holding naked threat. Don't forget, Allison's family business depends mostly on the Jordan family's support. And Tom, his company's biggest partner, is also the Jordan family. Are you really going to ruin your friend's future just for the sake of your own temporary satisfaction, just to turn me down? I clenched my palm. Shameless. Seeing my face go pale, he seemed satisfied. His tone softened again, even carried a bit of pleading. The next second, he did something that shocked me. Right in front of all the guards and maids at the door, he bent both knees and knelt straight down on the cold ground. Heather, if you hadn't come back, I could pretend nothing ever happened. I would never have bothered you again for the rest of my life. But you came back. He lifted his head, eyes bloodshot, so I can't let go anymore. At 20, under the fireworks outside the college town, I promised you, this lifetime, at my side, Henry's side, there would only be you. There was a sharp intake of breath all around. But I only thought it was absurd. Ridiculous. I turned and went inside the gate, picked up a long-handled broom from the corner, and walked right back out. Pa! I swung it with all my strength and smacked it hard across his back. Henry, don't you have any shame left? I raised the broom high and shouted to the servants nearby, go, bring me my phone. Record all of this. Henry, if you dare come and harass me again, just try it. My boyfriend is coming back from England very soon. We're getting engaged right away. Seeing his expression go stiff at once, I smiled even colder. Sure, Henry, you have a wide network, and you work with all kinds of people. My boyfriend may not be as powerful as you, but he's got his own channels to make your whole family restless and your business impossible to run. If you don't mind, you can keep trying. Alex arrived in China. That, we're getting engaged, line was meant to be the last straw to crush Henry. I didn't expect my parents to take it seriously. 3 days later, the Dunn family publicly announced my engagement to Alex, in formal wording and with a firm attitude. The Jordan family became the biggest joke. That night, when the news was released, crystal rain poured from the sky. Big raindrops pelted against the villa's floor-to-ceiling windows, crackling. That was when Henry came. He didn't drive. He stood at the gate drenched head to toe, like a dog abandoned by the whole world. The smell of alcohol and rain mixed together into sheer wretchedness. The security guards were blocking him, but he seemed crazy, pounding on the cold iron gate with his fist. Heather! Come out! I stood on the second-floor window, coldly looking down at him. Alex came over, put a cup of hot milk in my hand, and followed my gaze down. Heather, tell me, why did you have to come back? Henry's cries pierced the rain, thick with nasal grief and despair. If you hadn't come back, everything would have stayed good. If you hadn't come back, I wouldn't have had hope. I wouldn't be this humble and cheap now. I took a sip of milk without changing expression. What a laughable logic. He seemed to think that as long as I stayed gone forever, he could hold on to his marriage and his career with a clear conscience. I was the one who broke his peace. Since you came back, it means you've forgiven me, doesn't it? His voice was full of self-righteous grievance. They say, chasing the wife is like a crematorium. I've already done the crematorium part. What else do you want from me? 3 years isn't enough? I've already declared to the whole world that I still love you even though I'm married, still not enough? Beside me, Alex's brows knit hard. He couldn't listen to it anymore. He took my hand, strode downstairs, and pushed open the heavy villa door. Rain and cold wind rushed in at once. Alex shielded me behind him and, in his not-so-fluent Chinese, questioned the soaked, miserable man outside, one word at a time. Why? Why should she never come back to China because of you? Henry's bloodshot eyes snapped over. Who do you think you are? Alex stepped forward, momentum not losing out in the slightest. It doesn't matter who I am. You are just a piece of garbage. Your so-called devotion is worthless. Henry lunged at me like a madman, trying to grab my hand. Heather, come back. I can give you everything. My business, everything I have. I'll kick Rachel out, I'll send her abroad, we can go back to how it was, okay? I shook off his touch in disgust and coldly reminded him of a bloody fact. Henry, with how much the Clark family has infiltrated your business now, can you actually make your own decisions? His face went bone white. I pressed on, voice as cold as ice. If you could make your own decisions, you wouldn't have agreed to your parents and married Rachel in the first place. The last layer of pretense was torn. All of his deep love, all of his promises, had been built on sand he couldn't even control. A gust of wind came, and it all collapsed. Henry staggered back a few steps. In the rain, disheveled, he turned and disappeared into the darkness. I thought Henry's breakdown would be the end of this farce. I didn't expect it to be the beginning of something bloodier. Rachel suddenly became pregnant. That news was the last straw that shattered Henry's sanity. He couldn't question it publicly, so he could only stew on his own. Then he started staying out all night, drinking all day. And then, one night when the alcohol got to him, he poured all of his resentment and unwillingness into his fists and rained them down on Rachel. The baby was gone. Rachel was beaten into a miscarriage, covered in injuries, and ran back to the Clark family to beg for help. But the Clark family's answer was cold. We don't interfere in our daughter's marriage. What a nice, we don't interfere. They just didn't want to rip their faces off with the Jordan family right then and affect the tangled interests between the two families. Rachel was sent back to that hell. Domestic violence, from once, became countless times. She finally couldn't take it anymore. That woman who used to calculate everything and had eyes full of profit chose the most drastic way when she was completely in despair, mutual destruction. She bundled up all the evidence she had collected of both the Clark family and the Jordan family evading taxes and falsifying accounts and sent it all to the tax bureau. A thunderstrike. Henry went completely mad. It was another rainy night. He grabbed Rachel by the throat, dragged her to the second-floor stairway, his face twisted. You ruined me. Then don't you dare live either. The next second, he let go. Rachel tumbled down the stairs like a broken rag doll. I saw it all on the news the next day. Henry was arrested and jailed for intentional injury. Rachel was paralyzed from the neck down and would spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. The Clark family and the Jordan family were both investigated and sealed up for massive tax violations. In one night, the tall buildings collapsed and they fell straight to the bottom. And those high and mighty businesses they had once run, after liquidation, most of them naturally flowed into Allison's company. When I called Allison, she was in the middle of signing a new contract. On the other end of the line was her triumphant voice. Heather, can you believe it? Some debts really do have to be paid. Half a year later, Alex and I set our wedding date. We would go back to the UK to register. Before leaving, we went to the prison. Separated by the thick bulletproof glass, I saw Henry again. He wore the blue and white striped prison uniform, it hung off him, all empty. His hair had been buzzed, the ashy scalp exposed in the air. The pair of peach blossom eyes I once drowned in were now dull and empty, like two dead pools of water. His slow gaze stayed on my face for a long time before he seemed to recognize who I was. No former vigor. No late-night crazed humiliation. Do you regret it? I asked him. Regret the hurt you caused? Regret clinging afterward? Or regret that you ruined everyone's life, including your own? His lips moved, but no sound came out. I had no patience to wait. That's it, then. I'm leaving. Just as I turned, his voice came through the receiver, hoarse like sand scraping. Tell me, why did you have to come back? That question again. I stopped, but didn't look back. I just pressed the phone to my ear again. If I didn't come back, how was I supposed to make you disappear from my world completely? On the other end of the line, there was deathly silence. Then I heard his rough breathing. What do you mean? He laughed, from a low, muffled laugh, to wild, hysterical laughter. What do you mean? Heather. He suddenly lunged at the glass, slamming his forehead against it, eyes bloodshot as he glared at my back. It was you. You were the one who sent your flight information to Rachel, weren't you? That scene at the airport, you did it on purpose for her to see, didn't you? Everything was your design. It was all you. I ignored the madness behind me. Half a year ago, when I received that email from Henry, "I'll pick you up at the airport," I did forward it to Rachel. I didn't say much, only added a smiling face. I just wanted to annoy her, to let her know that the marriage she thought was solid was a joke in front of me. But a lot of what happened afterward wasn't something I actively did. It was Henry's greed. It was Rachel's jealousy and scheming. It was Aunt Jordan taking the initiative. They pushed themselves off the cliff step by step. I only nudged at a stone that was already loose. All I can say is, I should thank them. Thank Rachel. Thank Aunt Jordan. If it hadn't been for their adding fuel to the fire, I might have had to spend more effort to shake off Henry, that bone-clinging leech. The prison gate slowly closed behind me. Outside, the sun was warm. Alex was standing not far away under a camphor tree. He was wearing a simple white shirt. When he saw me, his eyes curved and he smiled. Sunlight filtered through layer after layer of leaves, casting mottled shadows on him. Gentle, quiet. Light and shadow shifting, strangely mottled. And breathtakingly beautiful. That was my brand new everything.